And so how do they finish their actual stream? They say, hey, come to us and we'll give you 10% off, essentially. Give us a £50 gift voucher and we give you an extra £5. The businesses, the industry that is going to be most affected is, are the ones that require people to actually come down and be social. You literally cannot do that now. It's not a choice, it's you cannot do that. Otherwise you are quite possibly killing somebody else, right? So you can't do it. The only thing I have ever heard suggested to help these local gaming stores through is to buy vouchers, because a lot of them will give you vouchers now, because this is the only thing they could do to get any money. And a lot of people, are loyal to their local store, and so they will go out and they will spend, whatever, 20 quid, whatever, on a voucher, knowing they can pay it back later when the shop itself is in a slightly better shape. For some of these local stores, that is possibly the only way they aren't going out of business. And then GW, a FTSE 250 company, one of the best performing stocks of the last year, says, hey, fuck them, give it to us. Wankers. Holy absolute twats. By the way, in case you're wondering, I'm going to try and keep my swearing very British from now on, because the usual words, the F word, the S word, are now being flagged up by YouTube a lot. So, bollocks, bloody hell, wanker, twat, YouTube doesn't care. Okay, so what you just saw was recorded yesterday, and I actually continued to record the rest of the video, but it was so full of hate and pointless hate that I've actually decided to redo it. So let's very quickly go over what we're seeing here before we get to, the positives of Deathwatch and Harlequins not getting a Psychic Awakening book. Now, obviously, when I say positives, I mean the silver lining to the really bad news. They're not actually positives. It's more possible excuses that I can maybe justify and come up with to not start. Lumineth Army Box. That's kind of interesting because obviously they've just done that for Sisters. So it kind of implies maybe this is how they're going to release a new army. I'm okay with it, considering they don't release new armies too often. Fine. The price tag on it will be interesting though. The models look cool. I don't like the bull theme. I think they look silly. I don't know why GW is doing big hats as a thing, but whatever. Something has to be big. Other armies already have big shoulder pads. Tree Men, I think they're awesome, actually. Really like them. Obviously, Squirrel Boy, number one. I mean, just look at that. Stunning. Stunning. I think everybody's going to buy that for the squirrel. In fact, you know what? I think, and I'm just going to throw it out there, somebody needs to get on that squirrel, mass produce it. Fill up lots of little silicone molds, sell just the squirrel, I'm there. The Praetors from Word Bearers here look awesome. I don't think I've seen Praetors that look bad yet. Whatever they're doing with this line, I really like. I've seen some that don't stand out and immediately jump off the page, but not bad ones. These ones are good ones. I don't know anything about this, so I'm not going to talk about it. Angels of Death. Oh, everything was red. It was great. Oh, fine, whatever. Psychic Awakening, Pariah. I don't know why, but GW decided to just completely ignore that Pariah is obviously linked to Necrons. Like, when they had their stream, they were like, oh, well, Pariah has generally been used to mean people that, they kind of like, psychic is bad, and lots of people are pariahs in humans. Yeah, and what about bloody Necrons, mate? Oh my god, just say it. Why is he being such a twat? I can say twat, that's English. Firstly, the models. I like both models. First things first, though, this guy's haircut, stupid. I'm just going to throw that out there. You'd be better off being shaved head like me. So one's, okay, there are three haircuts in one. I'm going to call it a half forward-facing mullet with rat tail. That's what he's got. I'm thinking the sculptor that did that has maybe never seen human hair. Harlequins, this is, I believe, the first Harlequin that we've ever seen the face of. I suspect that there would be a reason in the books, or the comics, as to why he doesn't wear a mask. Because obviously the mask is a huge part of Harlequin lore. Okay, so in the stream, they said that both Deathwatch and Harlequins are not being included in a Psychic Awakening book. Instead, they're getting a White Dwarf, and they said that we won't have to wait long for the Deathwatch rules, which implies that could be the next White Dwarf. I assume they're still going to release monthly White Dwarf during the quarantine period. I'm not sure though. Okay, so first I'm going to give you the worst case scenario, which is also the logical scenario, but let's go with it. They give them 4 pages, maybe 5, and you get no new units, but you do get a few, like 2 new relics, 2 new sub-factions, and that's it. Now, in all of the Psychic Awakening books, the additional sub-factions have been 1 page. White Dwarf, they're definitely going to get 1 page. So if they are going to add sub-factions to 2 factions that don't have sub-factions, that's huge. Obviously, we would like more. We'd like cool artwork. But actually, if you take the view that we're just going to get 4 pages of just rules, they can fit a lot in those new pages. And yes, of course, everybody wants new units. Fine. To me, this White Dwarf announcement is just an admission that they don't get new data sheets. But they can pack a lot of rules into 4 pages. For example, Tyranids, they had 9 pages, and that's including fluff and an art cover page in Blood of Bull. Genestealer Cults, I believe, were 8 pages for the greater good. Okay? So it's not inherently bad. And let me posit the positive side. Let me throw this out there, okay? Okay, so for those of you that don't know, GW, obviously, as you do know, has a very tight release schedule because they're pumping out releases every weekend. And because of this coronavirus, they've had a complete shutdown. And no doubt, whatever has happened here has been a huge setback for them. So what if Deathwatch and Harlequins were their own Psychic Awakening book, and they've just said, you know what, because we have certain timelines to hit, because those are the things that sell well and we need to get them in before the end of the tax year, so we can't actually push everything back, we can only push some things back, but then this main product has to release just before tax season, basically. That's what they normally do. So we have to give up some things. What are the things we can give up? Well, we can't give up releasing miniatures. Those have to release. What can we give up? Books. Okay, what books are coming out? Well, we've got this book. Okay, how else can we get those rules to the public? White Dwarf. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's do that. How about Deathwatch and Harlequins are getting the full rule set that they were going to get in their own Psychic Awakening book? So, potentially 10 to 16 pages. But they're just putting it into a White Dwarf. A White Dwarf can easily take an extra 10 to 16 pages of rules, because they've said that Deathwatch and Harlequins aren't going to be in the same White Dwarf, so it's not going to be 20, 40 pages bigger. It's just going to be 10, 20, So what if it's not actually less rules, fewer rules, I apologise. It's actually just you're getting the same amount of rules, but they cannot get it to you in the normal way, so they are giving it to you significantly cheaper. Okay, so I've just said all of this, and I realise that I sound a little bit like an abused housewife, kind of saying, no, they're good, really. They do love me. So, I don't believe anything I've said here. Actually, that's not true. I don't believe the second thing I said, but I do believe the first thing I said. If they had a solid 4 pages of rules, relics, sub-factions, etc., that is actually huge for both of these armies, because both of these armies are very, very small anyway. Like, one rule, Deathwatch have 2 data sheets, right, for troops. They have veterans or primaris. That's it. A single rule can change their army completely. And now I realise that is relying on GW being good, cognizant rules writers. But it's very possible. So I personally am excited to get the Deathwatch White Dwarf rules in my hand and read them out to you, because I don't know anything about 40k. So you're going to be able to see me read something super OP and be like, oh, that doesn't sound very good. Anyway, this has been Glass Half Dead. I hope that this has come off a little bit more positive than... Honestly, the last thing I recorded was horrendous. It was just vitriol. Anyway, quarantine, lockdown, stay home, stay safe. And if you do want a better NHS, their slogan is stay home, protect the NHS. Don't vote Tory because they're the ones destroying the NHS. Basic politics, mate.